We're going to start this drawing by giving ourselves a central axis down the center of the page and choosing a spot for the bottom and the top of our vessel. So this is an arbitrary choice for you to make, depending on how you want the vessel to sit within the page. Then remembering when we measured it, that the height and width were almost equal, so that means that our vessel will fit inside of a square. I'm going to make equal marks on either side of that central axis to give us the left and right parameters of the construction shape, which is a square, and then I'm going to add the horizontal top and bottom. Then looking at the widest point of the vessel, I measure how far up the sides of the square those side points would hit the side of the square. And it's about a third of the way up our construction shape of a square. And the shape of the bottom section of that urn is a narrow trapezoid. So measuring the narrow neck at the top, it's about a fifth of the way down from the top of the square if I measure using my pencil as a measuring tool. And that construction shape for the belly of the vessel is an upside down trapezoid. And then there's a third one on top, which is quite narrow. So using my geometric shapes to build the overall construction shape of my vessel, I have three trapezoidal shapes stacked on top of each other. And then the overall shape of the arms could be, or the handles, could be seen as triangular shapes, hanging off the side from the shoulder to the hip of the vessel. So once I have that placed and mapped out, I'm going to start to think about the contour. So going back to our continuous line contour drawing. Now if I look at the bottom of that vessel, it appears to be a curve. Even though I know it's flat and it's sitting on a flat surface, the perspective of a round object sitting on a flat surface is a curve. So I want to pay close attention to the rate of curve on the bottom and then also on the side contours where it's fairly straight until it gets down to the bottom or down below the hip of the vessel. And then that curve rate comes in pretty dramatically, giving it sort of a fat bottom in weight. So then I'm going to come back up and look at the curve at the neck, or the narrowest part of the vessel, which also is a downward curve, and the curve of the opening or the rim at the top, which is going to be a flatter curve than the bottom one because it's closer to our eye level. And then the opposing curve of the top giving us that opening. Now I'm paying very close attention to my contours, just like with our blind contour drawing, really looking at how those directions change, how the curves change on the edges of this object. So I'm cleaning it up a little bit, getting rid of some of the construction lines, and then I want to come back and really carefully observe those handles. So they aren't triangular, they're a little curved across the top, and then the arms as they come down to the hip are straight, but the edges, the contour, has little bumps and notches where that ribbon-like piece of clay is twisted. Now I'm going to come back up to the underside of the handle, and again paying close attention to my contours. I can think of drawing this shape in two different ways. I can concentrate on the contour of the handle itself, or I can think about the contour of the negative shape or the inside shape underneath that handle. And then I'm going to go Carefully observe the left side, because even though this is a symmetrical or fairly symmetrical object, there might be slight differences in those two handles, slight differences in the curves or in the twist on the side of the handle. So I'm not really thinking about detail at this point, really just looking at the overall changes within the line of the contour. So as I start to really focus on the contour, it gets away from the flat geometric shape, and I really start to pay attention to all of those edges. But it is symmetrical or fairly symmetrical because I use that central axis and the construction lines to lay the foundation of the object before I then come back and really add the observational details. It saves you from getting into trouble in trying to draw objects that are symmetrical. Then when you go back and erase all of your construction lines and come back and correct any little bumps here, I'm correcting the opening in the top of the vessel, then it really takes shape. It has symmetry, it has weight, and that contour is nice and smooth and confident.